Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about how to burn down a comic book company successfully.
We got a really good case study for you right here.
Yeah, this is going to be a case study for future publishers. They're going to look at the failures of IDW. IDW basically Icarused itself. They chased Hollywood. And they got burnt. They lost a lot of money. They stopped focusing on their core customers and their core products. And, I don't think they're going to be around much longer. No. I'm going to be honest. Or if they are, they're going to get absorbed into some other company.
That. But, hey, you actually worked for them before.
I did.
You had checks from them once.
Once upon a time, yeah. That was back when they actually cared more about comic books than Hollywood. And even then, I'm going to be honest, I never had a bad experience working with people at IDW. I said this before because people are like, you're just dunking on IDW. It's like, no, at the time, none of the people I worked with are there anymore, by the way.
Some of them unfollowed you and you didn't even do anything to them.
They did. Once we started doing YouTube, some of them preemptively unfollowed us. I was like, what the hell? Like, I literally, you know me, I've never had a problem with you. But that aside, I did have trouble getting paid from IDW. It was one of the few major comic book publishers that I had to chase them for money for months.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there were a couple of covers I did that it took me 4 or 5 months to get paid. I'm like, that's not a good sign.
No.
And that was 7-8 years ago.
Right, and that was after you did the stuff for Gemstone, and then at the end you weren't getting paid. So we've been down this road before, so we knew that there was something up.
Yep. So that was years ago, and we had no idea how bad it was going to get. Anyway, we're going to talk about IDW, and ICV2 has their numbers. And this explains why they're losing licenses and why it's not looking good. I think they're going to be done. I could totally see another company coming in and buying them. I don't know what they're going to buy exactly, because they have very little original IP.
Well, now they're just calling themselves Media Holdings.
Yeah, that's how they went public, and it's bad. Their stock has been dropping off a cliff. We're going to talk about just how bad it actually is. I have to give a hat tip to CCG, who sent this over earlier today. But we're going to talk about the decline of IDW. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 254,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. We do talk about the comic book industry, having worked in and around the comic book industry.
Nuh-uh, you're lying.
You're liars. Yeah, and having worked for IDW under better circumstances, which still weren't great, but
back when people cared.
Back when they cared. Now, just to walk it back here a little bit, IDW has been on a losing streak for years. They did
it themselves.
They did it to themselves. Yeah, they've been hemorrhaging money for probably 5 years now. And again, a lot of that was them spending money chasing Hollywood. They kept trying to get Netflix deals and Hulu deals, and some stuff would stick, but it was never gangbusters. Like Lock and Key was one of their biggest IP that they had, and it still didn't do gangbusters. I think they thought it was going to be their own Stranger Things, and it was like, it was okay. It kind of came and went, and everybody forgot about it.
I think they had another season coming.
Yeah, I don't.
They did. I don't even.
I watched a couple episodes.
I know they did more than one season.
And I'm like, I'm bored. Like, the comics were good, but I'm like, I'm bored. I'm really bored. So they've been losing licenses like crazy. They're losing G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Because they didn't ruin those.
Well, they did kind of ruin G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe, the sales dropped off a cliff, and there was a lot of drama around one of the writers, some dumb stuff that was said about 9/11. But anyway, those are going to Skybound, I think, Image Comics. Before that, though, Disney started pulling their licenses.
Yeah.
They were, now, going to wind it back a little bit for those of you who don't recall us talking about this before, having worked on Disney Comics for a number of years, had connections to people who worked on the publishing side, the licensing side of Disney, and I had a conversation with one of them 5 or 6 years ago, who basically said that Disney was, at that time, actively looking for somebody to job Marvel Comics out to. And they then wound up about a year later, they started testing the water with IDW. Didn't do well.
No.
Didn't do well. Can't imagine why. So it did not do well. They lost the license. And Dark Horse is getting the Star Wars license too. So they've lost Star Wars, they've lost Marvel. They're losing everything. Their board games were profitable. IDW's board games. They shut the board game division down.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know if it's overhead. I don't know if they never really gave a reason. It could be supply chain issues. I know a lot of people are having a hard time getting their games manufactured. And so it might be a case of like, we can't sit on these games for 9 months until we
Well, that's
finally
what I
get them
said,
in.
rising trade costs. Yeah.
It could also be a case of, we don't know if we're going to be in business this time next year. We don't want to go do another Kickstarter for a game and then have to deliver the game after we're already out of business.
Yeah.
It could be, we know we're going to lose like the Turtles license eventually or Sonic eventually, so we're not going to make games based on these characters. Everything's up in the air. So what they decided to do is double down on creator-owned projects, which is interesting because they
Told us no.
told us no. They told a lot of
They
people
told
no.
that they weren't taking creator-owned projects.
No, we were told in like 2014 that IDW had zero interest in new IP, zero interest in creator-owned projects. And that was true then because they were chasing, licenses. They got Turtles and Sonic and all this other stuff. And now they have nothing. They have Turtles yet probably until it runs out and Sonic until it runs out. And I don't know what's going to happen to the company. Doesn't look good. So this is ICV2. ICV2, which is the probably the best unbiased numbers-focused comic book blog out there. I highly recommend them. IDW's Q4 and annual reports reveal more about recent events. So the latest financial information released by IDW Media Holdings, a parent company of IDW Publishing, reveals more about recent events at the company, including the expected impact of losing Transformers and G.I. Joe, the plan for making up those sales.
What plan?
Details of the new distribution deal with Penguin Random House and the fate of IDW Games. The financial information was contained in the company's Q4 and annual reports for the periods ending October 31st, 2021. They're always trying to put a positive spin on things. They always do.
Disney does it too.
They revealed last week that 2 of the Hasbro licenses, G.I. Joe and Transformers, will end in 2022. They said that they disclosed it expects that the loss will cost them $1.2 million in the current year. That's not a lot. For both of those titles,
that means no one's buying them.
That's not a lot. I mean, a single comic book crowdfunder can make more than that.
But I love this. You know what their plan is? Their big plan to replace the money, sell more of the stuff they have.
Yeah.
That's their big plan.
So people who were really into Transformers are totally going to be into My Little Pony and Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's right.
They're going to sell more of the remaining brands. New originals are planned for July with 5 to 6 new titles spanning the fiscal year. This is fine, guys. This is fine.
I'm sure it's the right kind of people with the right kind of connections who heard the titles.
Yep. The company plans to double its quantities of original material each fiscal year.
It makes me so mad. Because, it makes me so mad.
We're scaling up to develop approximately 40 original titles annually. Yeah, they're looking to become an IP farm. They're hoping that one of these things that they pick up or develop gets picked up by Hulu or Netflix or HBO or something. We continue to aggressively pursue new creators and titles. Who would work with you at this point? I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I'm like...
People will. The exact kind of people that you think are the ones who work with them.
Tumblr.
Basically.
I mean, at this point, you are a failing comic book publisher. Your failure has been very public for a very long time. And I can tell you, again, not throwing shade at the people I worked with, but I had a hard time getting paid 7 or 8 years ago, right? So good luck with that, I guess, whoever
and they had some good stuff, and they threw it out because they were like, we just want to go with licensed stuff.
Yeah, they did. They could have gone down a totally different path. They were off to a good start, Lock and Key and 30 Days of Night and some other, solid titles. Instead, they're like, yeah, it's easier just to do, Hasbro comics and Disney comics. And so Hasbro notified IDW of its plan to move the licenses in October. They end their agreement in March of 2023. The filings also revealed more about the deal to move IDW's direct market distribution from Diamond to Penguin. Diamond's going to get gone.
Yeah, well, I've said for years that whole Diamond, monopoly was the stupidest thing ever.
Back in March of 2021, based on staff changes and release plans, we noted it looked like IDW was winding down the game publishing operations. Now, IDW has made it official, declaring in calendar 2021, the company wound down IDW Games, and going forward, IDW Games is only backfilling final orders. They're winding down the whole fucking company. Like, this is it. This is not, they just don't want the investors to panic. They're winding down the company. They were trying to sell IDW off, or one of their big shots over there said, you should sell this company off like 3 or 4 years ago.
Sounds to me like what they're trying to do is they're trying to be like Webtoons or like TikTok or something, where they're going to a bunch of people come in and do all the that they're just going to bank on these certain
For cheap.
Yes, and then let them be the ones that build up the audiences, carry people over, and then get themselves deals, and then say that they did something.
Yep. There were no big surprises in the financial results reported. In Q4, IDW Publishing sales declined from 7.7 million in 2020 to 6.9 million.
And it's going to decline even another 1.7 million, but that's okay. They're just going to sell more of the titles they have.
They're losing Marvel, they're losing Star Wars, they're losing Transformers, they're losing G.I. Joe.
They're only going to hit $1 million, like a little more than $1 million loss on all that.
On all of those titles.
So that just tells, like I said, that just tells me no one's buying them.
Multiple titles per license per month, plus trades, and that's it. That's all you're making is like $1 million bucks a year. Again, individuals are making more than that on crowdfunders. Just putting it out there. The publishing division generated a $0.04 million profit in fiscal Q4 2021 compared to a $0.5 million profit a year ago. Sales decline and higher severance pay were causes of the profitability decline. Everybody's leaving. I know a lot of editors left. For the full year, IDW Publishing sales increased to $25.3 million from $23.9 million because they did have a couple of things that were breakout. You know, Turtles did pretty well. Top Shelf, I think, had some stuff. For the year, IDW Publishing lost $0.8 million, down from $0.1 million loss in
Sounds like I'm seeing a
2020.
lot of losses. And they're using decimals to make it sound like it's not as bad as it was.
We only lost $800,000.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But they put $0.8 million because it sounds less. Okay.
We only lost $800,000. It's nothing. That's nothing. The decline in sales of backlist book titles and increased compensation and marketing expenses were cited as causes of the profitability decline. I thought book sales were doing great. I thought everybody was buying graphic novels, and you guys have a shit ton of those.
Yeah.
Everybody was buying graphic novels during the pandemic. What's your excuse?
Because they're buying, manga mostly. So.
With almost no IDW entertainment revenue in IDW Media Holdings fiscal Q4, sales for the full company were only $7.1 million, down from $10 million in a year ago period. The full company loss was only $0.7 million, an improvement from the $2 million loss of last year.
But it's going to lose money again this next year because they said they're losing a lot of stuff.
Yep. For the year, sales were $32 million, down from $38 million.
They talk in circles here.
Loss. IDW is a money-losing operation. And yeah, they went all in on Netflix deals. They went all in on Hulu. They kept telling everybody they were going to spend all this money to get these deals, and it was money in the bank. And now they have really nothing to show for it.
Well, I was thinking too, them trying to buy up all these, independent stories. It makes you think of Tokyo Pop too. They have buying all these stories, but then they always end up being the villain. Yeah. Because, you don't give everybody all the money, then they're going to vilify you even if you have a deal.
That's what's going to happen. If you go out to Twitter and Tumblr and try to cut deals with these creators, they're going to eat you alive. Yeah. Because they somehow think that their webcomic that gets 500 views a month is worth $500 million.
Right. Not just that they get to retain, you get to pay them and they get to retain every right to everything.
Yep. Because somebody on Twitter said so. And they think that they've got the next Spider-Man. Now, it is possible that they could have the next Spider-Man, but it's very unlikely, and you've got your hands full there, IDW. I don't think it's really going to matter. I think they're going to be out of business within a year or two. I don't see how they can keep it up.
They've been on a downward swing for quite a while.
Yeah, so here we go, guys. Cautionary tale. What not to do in comics. Don't be IDW.
No.
Gonna wrap it up?
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys, and we'll talk later.
Bye.